Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. Yesterday, Sunday, we had storminess here. The bulk of the moisture sliding into the south of the Panhandle, but this rotating up and hanging in there enough to bring the snow, heavy snow, and then rain and gusty winds, more of a rain late in the day, with a little bit warmer temperatures in the afternoon there. Otherwise, pretty nice here along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area. A few clouds down toward Kodiak and scattered clouds over the interior with really not much going on. We have some moisture sliding southeastward along the Arctic coast into the North Slope, coming around that big high that's sitting out here in the Bering Sea. And we'll see that today it's still there, actually a little bit farther to the south now and pulling back to the west, weakening, and these systems coming up way out to the west going northward and then cutting across the Russian Far East now, starting to track down southward a little bit better with the high retreating now. Still some stuff coming onto the Arctic coast, or had gone onto the Arctic coast, really over the North Slope. Wasn't too bad this afternoon up there, wind-wise and visibility-wise. Saw some pretty good conditions, clear skies, in fact, in some areas. And another weak disturbance as a trough begins to drop southward and dig into the interior again, that resulting in some clouds and a little bit of light snow right through there. Otherwise, that's about it. The Aleutians, Bering Sea, all the way out to the Komodorskis, no storminess at all. And we have still, as I roll this through, low pressure trough into the Gulf of Alaska, southwest flow, keeping the snow going over the northern areas, even out to Sitka today. I think they picked up another 2 to 4 inches, not at Sitka, but generally is what I saw in the forecast there for the northern Panhandle. And the winter storm warnings for the snow were out until 6 p.m. this evening, or 6 p.m. Monday evening, which is in not too long from now. Anyway, less precipitation on down to the south. Still a lot of sunshine here, south central Alaska and all the way back to the Bristol Bay area. And we've got otherwise snow, just a narrow band up through here. Yukon Flats, possibly in the Tanana Valley, but nothing significant. And some more hung up on the north side of the Brooks Range. Better conditions along the Arctic coast. And then some moisture here associated with an upper trough coming, beginning to dig into the interior, but just some flurries around St. Lawrence Island, the Bering Strait, possibly around the Deering area, and that's about it. Dry conditions, gusty north to northwest winds, mostly now here over northeast Bristol Bay, on up along the western Alaska Range is where the tightest gradient is, but not a lot of wind going on right now. And then we've got the moisture here, the snow over the northern Panhandle, starting to back westward in toward the Wrangell Mountains from Yakutat, bearing down toward Cordova, but really not much into Prince William Sound. Low pressure Gulf of Alaska here, just showers associated with that along the trough axis, and then mixing into rain and snow and tapering off actually on down toward the southern panhandle. And another system down here for tonight will actually kind of merge in with the main one here with a trough to the south. Another frontal boundary forms and moves up, so southeast winds look for rain at the lowest elevations over the southern panhandle with a mixture in between, staying snow to the north, or will be spreading back north. And then looks like most of the snow shower activity will stay off the coast there, but still some of this moisture might sneak in a few snow showers that will be quite light into Prince William Sound possibly, and then maybe right along the Alaska Range could see some areas of light snow. Copper River Basin east side there, especially around the Wrangell Mountains up to about Nebezna. Even maybe Northway and Tok might see a little bit of light snow with mostly cloudy skies. And actually that pattern extending northward there toward Eagle, and then a couple of troughs bringing some skiffs of light snow, fog and flurries, lower flying conditions here as they pass by. By 3 a.m. should be one on the east side there with better conditions back to the west, but another one starting to move in with high pressure still ridging pretty strongly right up into the northwest interior. North to northeast winds starting to pick up a little bit now later on tonight. Gradients beginning to tighten up here, which suggests wind speeds will increase as well, but nothing really serious in the way of any strong winds. It'll be breezy down across Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, and again, nothing but high pressure out there to the west over the entire Bering, and even off to the west there toward the Komondorskis. So no change out here, fairly light winds, variable clouds, cloud spreading in the Pribilofs this afternoon. Those will continue to drop down, may slide into the eastern Aleutians there, and then just variable clouds all the way out to Shimia with dry conditions. And snow shower activity here doesn't look like it'll quite reach Kodiak Island. Should be in the mostly clear skies there, but getting kind of close. And anyway, for tomorrow, with that low center pulling to the northeast just a little bit there, this one rolls up to the north inland. So look for conditions to improve a little bit there, but still good southwest flow. Upper level trough digging southward into the interior again with another push of cold air. So southwest flow will continue for the panhandle, and that means wet conditions, mostly in the form of rain. Lowest elevations down to the south, and probably snow over the northern half with a mixture in between. So another pretty wet day tomorrow, or a snowy day depending on where you are, but nice conditions, increasing north and northeast winds here along the North Gulf Coast out of the Copper River Delta. You see a much tighter gradient now along and south of the Alaska Range, south central Alaska down to Kodiak Island. So definitely an increase in the winds in most areas. Light winds though for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, with sunshine from Bristol Bay right up to almost Norton Sound, and then northeast across the Koyukuk and Yukon Flats. And then this system trough, again, areas of light snow and fog, eastern Arctic coast, more so back to the west there, all the way down to the northern Seward Peninsula. But southern peninsula looks pretty good. Should be just a variably cloudy day for Nome. Light winds, dry conditions for St. Lawrence Island, Savunga, and Gamble. Same pattern there for even Nunivak Island along the coast. Breezy, but not too bad. Could probably see a fair amount of sunshine, VFR. For the Alaska Peninsula, kind of a growing area of snow showers here out over the Pribilofs, or actually just to the northwest of the Pribilofs. May not reach it at all, but that's about the only change for tomorrow going on out west there, with the strong high now south and continuing to weaken just a little bit. And then we'll see on Wednesday that does continue to drop southward there. A trough now, or a disturbance, comes up eastward. I forgot to draw the trough axis in there, but right there shows up pretty vividly anyway with the turquoise snow pattern. And nothing too strong, but kind of cutting in now to the Bering. And then another one, another weak, what was a front, pretty weak now by the time it approaches the Shimei and Attu area. That's probably only going to bring some small craft advisory winds out of the southeast into the far western marine zone, and that's about it. Otherwise, dry for the west coast, cold over the interior with variable clouds, and cold air sliding down into south central Alaska with gusty north winds. and almost storm warnings possible here for the Barren Islands. I think it's just high gales right now, but definitely the North Gulf Coast, quite a gradient developing here. So Copper River Delta, look for some big northerly winds gusts coming out of that area and getting pretty gusty for Prince William Sound as well, and possibly even Seward. And then the one low center tomorrow night pulls into Canada and weakens Wednesday afternoon, and then another trough swings up. So look for precipitation to be more showery, mixed over the southern and central areas, and then mostly in the form of snow, with snow along the North Gulf Coast, possibly as far north as the eastern Alaska Range. I may have this drawn a little too far to the north, but that's where the best chance will be. And again, more showery conditions for the southeast coast, and then high pressure over the north slope, variable clouds, but look for light winds up there, and a narrow ridge right along the west coast, keeping the winds light there as well. And so moving on to temperatures for the southeast coast this afternoon, readings were mostly in the 30s, with 39 down at AKwx, 31 at Juneau, Sitka up to 37. Drop that by 10 degrees at Yakutat, upper 20s Prince William Sound, 28 at Valdez, and Seward with 18 at Gulkana. North of the mountains, 4 at Northway, 5 Fairbanks. Susitna Valley, though, up to 30 degrees at Talkeetna, 29 Kenai, and mid-30s there for Kodiak Island. Up farther north, starting on the Arctic coast, below zero, but not too bad up there, with minus 13 at Nuiqsut and minus 14 at Atusuk, and then Cape Lisburne on the plus side of zero, and mostly in the mid to upper teens here for the central interior. 21 at McGrath, and then 24 out of Monik, with teens for the Seward Peninsula, 19 Savunga, and 24 there at St. Michael for the Pribilofs, 29 St. Paul, 33 at St. George, with 45 there at Yakutat, again one of the warmer locations out in that area, down to 37 at Shimia. Alaska Peninsula from the Fox Islands here, mid-30s, dropping into the mid-20s toward King Salmon. And for the lows for tonight, definitely pretty well below zero again, anywhere from 15 to 30 below. And looks like the coldest area they've got marked there in the Koyukuk Valley. But down south of the Alaska Range on the plus side of zero, with teens south central Alaska, upper 20s Kodiak Island, and 30s for the Aleutians. It's Panhandle mid-30s south to lower 20s north. And for the highs tomorrow, right up to near freezing here over the northern Panhandle, but near 40 to even probably into the lower 40s across Prince of Wales Island. And single numbers again, the Tanana Valley below zero, a little from the Koyukuk and the Brooks Range, the eastern Arctic coast. Single numbers back here to the west, Seward Peninsula, teens, Yukon Delta, 20s for Bristol Bay. And for the flying weather for tomorrow afternoon, still have some IFR here over the central and southern southeast coast over toward the border. Things improving to marginal along the coast, and VFR from the North Gulf Coast all the way up through the interior until you hit the marginal stuff again out toward the Arctic coast, and pretty good here. Maybe some areas of marginal conditions along the west side, but the IFR out over the Bering Sea from St. Lawrence Island, again where that area of moisture is starting to develop. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan both wide open tomorrow with VFR in the forecast. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, but rainy, looks a little more marginal. Windy though, be VFR. Isabel, let's just call it VFR, possibly becoming marginal, but Mentasta will stay VFR. And then for Tanita, that should be VFR. It's not going to become marginal at all there. And then for Portage, VFR, Chilkoot and White, gradually diminishing, or actually by probably late morning, starting out marginal early and then becoming IFR maybe late in the morning, definitely into the afternoon. And the freezing levels right at the surface here, now shifting northward over the northern Panhandle, but 2,000 feet lagging way to the south. And then still some warm air aloft here as that upper ridge retreats out over the southwest Bering Sea. And as far as icing forecast, really nothing out west, just high pressure or storminess, even over the interior. No significant icing at all. But the Panhandle, look for possible mixed icing above about 4,000 feet, light, possibly moderate. And that's about it. So moving on to the upper level wind flow chart, the main polar low centered way up there, but a trough extending southward from that all the way down across the Gulf of Alaska. High pressure over the western Bering, northwest jet out there. Southwesterlies now 120 knots, but the jet core south of the Panhandle, actually across the Queen Charlottes. So for 9,000 feet, 20 to 30 knot winds here, central and southern southeast coast, lighter to the north. Northeast picking up to 25, Copper River Basin into Prince William Sound. Big increase in the winds, kind of a narrow band of northerlies here, right through here down across northeast Bristol Bay and the Aleutian Range of 50 knots, falling back to 20 to 35 here. Eastern Bering Sea dropping back to 20 for the Bering Strait. Light winds out west with nothing but high pressure. 3,000 feet, again, not so strong, but this is the area of strongest winds for tomorrow there from the southwest interior down across the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutian Range, even into Kodiak Island coming up to 45 knots. Northeasterlies, though, 15 increasing to 25 for the North Gulf Coast. And then for turbulence, look for a moderate chop here with the increasing winds, mechanical turbulence, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, South Central Alaska, Kodiak, the Aleutian Range, Kamishak Bay, Western Alaska Range especially. And after the break of hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good afternoon. I'm Rocky Capozzi, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. Our guest this afternoon is usually sitting in this seat. It's our own Mary O'Connor. Mary is the manager of the Aviation Safety Research Program at the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Most of us just refer to that as NIOSH. NIOSH recently released a new training set of training material for commercial pilots about preventing fatigue. And so I'd like to start with a simple question. This morning I got out of bed. I was pretty tired. What's the difference between being tired and being fatigued?
Well, that's a good question. And a lot of the times being tired contributes to fatigue because maybe you didn't get enough sleep or the quality of sleep that you got was poor. So that would contribute to fatigue. Okay. And fatigue is a general lack of alertness, which may or may not come from too little sleep. It causes a degradation in mental and physical performance.
Got it. So obviously this is a big interest with your department, and why are the pilots in Alaska, why should they be concerned about fatigue? Why particularly here?
In general, fatigue plays a part in up to 20% of transportation accidents. But specifically in Alaska, the conditions here are extremely challenging for pilots. A lot of operators have summer months where they make the majority of their income. So it may be just May through September when pilots are working. So there's a lot of pressure on them to get out and work. The long hours of daylight in the summer can make it really challenging to get adequate sleep. A lot of activities are going on, so there may be temptation to go fishing on the Kenai or play softball till late hours and not realize how late it is and that people do need to get to sleep.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. I know, yeah, we like to take advantage of the nice weather when we have it. So what are some of the red flags that people or pilots and maybe pilots' co-workers can look for to indicate that there's a fatigue issue?
Well, some things that people might pay attention to are the time of day. If you know that you're a morning person or a night person, know that you might not be operating at your best, your peak performance, if you're at the opposite time of day that is best for you. The amount of time awake can affect people, and the amount of sleep, like we just talked about. People's circadian rhythms can get a little bit confused. So pilots who might be commuting from the lower 48 who are on a time schedule that's 4 hours ahead, maybe it's going to take a little bit more time for them to catch up with their circadian rhythms. The time on task can also affect pilots. So if you know that you've got a long day and you're going to be flying either long flights and sitting there for several hours, or if you're going to be having many, many short flights, you want to pay attention and try and prevent fatigue as you can. Some ways that you might be able to do this are making sure that you're adequately watered and you're hydrated, and having food also helps, being at a comfortable temperature, and being able to maybe talk to coworkers or air traffic control, or even talking on the radio to company can help relieve some of those bits of boredom which can lead to fatigue.
It's interesting. Here's an off-the-wall question. I used to fly a very loud airplane when I was a young captain in the Air Force, and I found flying in that airplane made me tired, particularly if I was sitting in the back seat right between the props. Is there a relationship between noise level and fatigue as well?
Yes, physiological stressors do add to fatigue, and those can be things like you just said: noise, temperature, vibration. A lot of helicopter pilots that we talk to experience fatigue just from the vibrations of the helicopter, so that might be more fatiguing. Some other issues include preventing fatigue by wearing noise-canceling headsets. That is a recommendation that we heard from a lot of pilots when we did focus group discussions.
Sure, makes sense. I own some now, and I wished I'd always had them. Mary, you brought something with you today. Did you want to tell us about?
Sure. Our training that we have developed is available on CD, and it is also available to download online. And the easiest way to find it is to Google NIOSH Aviation, or you can go to aviation@cdc.gov and request a copy of the CD.
Well, thank you. It's been great talking to you today. I hope to continue our discussion of fatigue in another session. So to our audience, thanks for joining us. Blue skies and tailwinds. See you next time.
Welcome back for the southeast coast. Mostly southeasterlies at around 20 knots with seas 10 to 14 feet, give or take. Small craft advisories on the north coast. Northern Link Canal, north 25. Still some freezing spray going on up there, but southeasterlies and milder on down to the south with Clarence Strait up to 25 knots. But those are going to kick into gale force on Wednesday with 35 knot winds in the forecast down there and 7-foot seas. 25 knotters in across Stevens Passage. And Northern Link Canal, northerlies picking up a little bit there at 30 knots, and southeast 30 for the south coast. Gales to the north, and seas running 10 to 16 feet, I'll call it there. And then for Prince William Sound, north to northeast 15 tomorrow, northeast up to 25 for Cook Inlet, or 25 or less, and northerlies at the same speed. So small craft advisories here coming out of Kamishak Bay and also blowing across Shelikof Strait, turn into gales down across the Barren Islands, and then turn northerly and drop back to 25, and then northeast 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And then for Wednesday, still pretty brisk winds blowing through the Barrens there, maybe up to 45 knots. Northerly gales east side of Kodiak Island. No change for Shelikof Strait or Kachemak Bay. North 25 south of the Forelands. And north winds 25, give or take here for Prince William Sound. But with that tightening gradient, northern bays will see a lot gustier or a lot stronger gusts than that. And then northeast 35 for the North Gulf Coast. Bristol Bay, brisk wind advisories for those northerlies. North 20 to 25 across the peninsula, and then from Castle Cape on up to Sitkinak, northwesterly gales. And that holds through Wednesday as well. In fact, increases a tad. They're up to 40 knots with 14-foot seas. And then from Castle Cape westward, northwest 30. Small crafts on the north side as well. And Bristol Bay picking it up a little bit, north 30 knots. For the Fox Islands, north winds 20 to 25 across Unalaska Island. But west of there, getting pretty light under still high pressure, southeast 20 towards Shimia. And then for Wednesday, really light winds, variable, you could call it, becoming southeast, but only at 10 knots for the Adak-Atka area. Northerlies 15 to 25. Eastern Aleutians, southeast 25 from Kiska Island west. And for the Bering Sea, northwesterlies pretty light, 10 to 15 knots, 20 knots south of Nunivak Island, as well as the Pribilofs with seas running 5 to 6 feet. And then for Wednesday, still a really light wind pattern going on out here, but a little bit of change showing up, becoming a little more southerly here for the St. Matthew Island area, and just becoming maybe southeast across St. Lawrence Island. And that southerly wind condition will be even more pronounced on Thursday, otherwise light winds. And for the Arctic coast, southwest 15 to 20, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and then 10 to 15 westerly, central and west side, northwest there from Cape Beaufort down to Wales. And then for Wednesday, still really light winds here from the Bering Strait up, well, actually all the west side there, just 10 knots, and then maybe 15 knots from the central coast here, gradually increasing, but still only 20 knots over toward Kaktovik and Demarcation Point. And the weather for tonight again, a couple of weak troughs spread some snow to the east side of the Arctic coast and a lesser extent over the north slope. And just mostly cloudy here down the eastern interior with possible flurries, maybe something a little more than flurries over the eastern Copper River Basin areas. And then another frontal boundary develops and swings up into the Panhandle with rain south, snow north, and maybe right along or probably off the North Gulf Coast. Northwest winds keep it dry for Kodiak and Bristol Bay. Really nice out along the west coast with light winds to the Bering. And then for Tuesday, still wet over the Panhandle. One low tracks northeastward, another trough following in behind, but that pattern will change a little bit here as this low actually backs to the west as the trough digs down from the north and pulls it westward, so looks a little better. Precipitation more showery and not quite so heavy, but snow over the southeast interior, increasing winds, southern Alaska, and still breezy for Bristol Bay, nice to the north. Let's look at Alaska weather for tonight. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.